Hi, it's Mrs. Cox with this week's Family Art Challenge. I'll share my screen and then we'll learn all about today's artist and your challenge. Okay, today we're going to look at an artist called Klee. And Klee was an Austrian artist who painted about 100 years ago. And he was part of what we often call the move towards modern art. And modern art is art that doesn't just draw a picture that tries to look exactly like the thing it's painting, tries to do other things as well. Let's have a look at some examples. So Klee was really influenced by these different artists. So Picasso was part of the Cubist movement, and you can see these really curious, interesting paintings and drawings that don't try and look like people at all, but look really unreal. We sometimes say surreal. And in Cubism, you look at an object from different viewpoints and try and put all those viewpoints into one picture, and you get these very strange but intriguing paintings that draw the eye in. So Picasso is really famous for that kind of art. And then we also have the word expressionism, which is art that tries to show lots of emotion, but again, it doesn't necessarily look exactly like the thing it's trying to portray. So this is an example of a Kandinsky expressionist painting. And then Salvador Dali is the most famous surrealist painting, and he painted these incredible paintings of things that just could never happen. So here's a giant rose in the sky, and you can see some people down here in a landscape, and then a rose that's, you know, bigger than a building. So he just experimented with surreal. If it's surreal, it could never happen. Crazy, amazing designs. But all these artists became really famous because they were doing something new that had never been done before, that people looked at and thought, wow, that's so interesting. And it really made people think. And they were incredible designs. What's really interesting, though, is they were very much influenced by older art from one country, and that country was Africa. And the European countries had gone to Africa a lot in the previous century, and they'd taken a lot of artworks from different countries, often without asking, and brought them back to Europe. And then the Europeans were amazed by the detail and the standard and the craft work that went into them. But also you can see that lots of these arts, masks, look very much like a Cubist painting with the angles and the colours and the shapes. So all of that was happening, and Klee was very influenced by it. And Klee is really famous for his quote, which I had at the beginning of the slideshow. And he said that art is about a dot that went for a walk. So he talks about taking a line for a walk, and that's what we're going to look at today. But before we do that, let's see what Klee did with his lines. So this is called Ancient Harmony, and it's interesting because it's just colours, but he's used different lines and different colours, and you can just look at it and it's a very beautiful, harmonious piece of work. This one is called Rose Garden, and again, lots of straight lines and blocks of colour, and then he's just put these circles in which represent the roses. This is called Highways and Byways, and lots of other artists have tried to do similar things since. So he's just literally used lines and then coloured in, and we don't know what he wanted those darker coloured blocks to be. Are they fields? Are they houses? It's called impressionistic. It's very, it's not realistic. It's giving you an impression of the scene that he's looking at, and maybe conveying a sense of it and some of the emotions that go with it. This one's very lovely. It's called Castle and Sun. And if you look at it, you can see the sun really clearly. And you can get a sense of the intricate architecture of a castle there. Just again, done with simple shapes, and then the colours really bring it to life. This one's called Flora on the Sand. And if you look closely, you can see that there's more yellow at the bottom and more blue at the top. So it's a bit like looking at a picture of the seaside, but reduced to very simple squares where the colour is. And flora is the term for flowers. It's another word for flowers. So the colours are meant to be flowers on the sand. And this one is a landscape, and he's called it Small Rhythmic Landscape. And there's something about the pattern and the shapes and the way he's put the very simple trees in that does make it a very beautiful but quite gentle landscape. And finally, I thought you might like to see this. This is, I think it's Senicchio, and it's a painting of an old man, and again he's used his lines to do circles and geometric shapes, and then painted them with pale pastel colours to get this painting, which doesn't look like any real old man, but it is a really famous painting because people look at it and think, do I get a sense of that old man from this painting? So you've seen how Paul Klee uses his lines in a very simple way, again, to make these very stunning, interesting paintings that people like to look at and that are quite inspiring. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how you can take your line for a walk, and we'll see what you can come up with. So our challenges are, the first one, just to take a line for a walk and make a design. Second one, to use different marks and lines, thinking about everything we've learned over the last few weeks, and add some detail to your design. And you could add colour at that point, and we'd love to see whether you choose to use black and white and just one pen or one pencil, or whether you bring in different colours. But remember, Paul Klee's colours are quite subtle, they're quite muted, they're pastel colours generally, not always very bright colours, but then you might choose to go bright and see what your image looks like. And finally, the red chili challenge would be to just write a small paragraph explaining how you made your image and how you were influenced by Paul Klee. Can't wait to see your designs, and have a look at the other video for some of my ideas about how you might go about this.